Hello, good morning everybody out there and welcome to the newspaper review here on Newsbuster TV. My name is Jennifer Mosu and welcome of course to the segment of the show. We'll be starting with one of the known dailies, which is the Nigerian Tribune, and above the masthead we see NLC strike, banks, courts, ports, offices short, and the writer there of course says there was a partial compliance in some states, but the aviation workers and unions have opted out of that strike. And you might know that a faction of organized labor, which is the Trade Union Congress, TUC, also says they are not part of this warning strike to the federal government. But basically, the strike is going on since yesterday, the 5th of September, and it continues up until today. So with that, you can get that piece of information on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune. And the big story on page 8 and splashed there on the front pages, it says tight security as court delivers presidential election verdict today, and television stations have set up equipment for that live broadcast, which I believe is going on presently. There's a lot of watertight security around the court premises, and since yesterday there have been reports of heavy security presence all over the Federal Capital Territory to guard against unscrupulous elements who might want to use the decisions, if not favorable to whatever side, to cause some fracas and mayhem. But we believe the 5 judges who will be sitting on that matter are going to give something that is good and fair to the people and what is worth it after the long wait of those petitions going into the courts. All right, you can get that on page 8 from the Nigerian Tribune. On page 6, as Insurance Group posts 20 billion naira in revenue for the year 2022. IGP orders probe of cadet officers' death at the police academy. A young cadet who was hopefully trying to get a decent future as a police officer. There have been several stories to it, but the Inspector General of Police has ordered an inquiry into that young cadet's death, which was a rather unfortunate incident. Moving on from that story, you can catch it on page 26. Ekiti residents cry for help as gunmen abduct 4 farmers 5 days after killing one. Security still on the rise, especially in some parts of the country like the southwest. I believe Ekiti borders on those states where a similar massacre was held, well, rather happened last year. Sorry, not held, happened last year. So security presence should be beefed up in some of these places, and knowing that people in certain lines of trade or sectors are vulnerable to attacks by, gunmen, insurgents, terrorists, kidnappers, violent cattle grazers. So security should actually be beefed up for some of those people. 1 killed as truck drivers task force clash in Lagos. This was yesterday around the Mile 2 axis of Lagos, where some truck drivers had an altercation with members of the task force, and that escalated into the shooting of one of those truck drivers. And of course, their comrades will have none of it, and it's really got intense. But that situation has been put under control. We played map politics with protest against fuel subsidy removal in 2012. That's coming from Fayemi, who was once a governor in Ekiti State. So he's saying whatever happened at that time period, it was a mere political gimmick. And but at the end of the day, how has it played out for the whole country? You can read more of that interesting story on page 5 from the Tribune. And lastly, federal government cancels Intel's pilotage monopoly, engages 4 new firms. That is on page 6 from the Nigerian Tribune. And moving from the Nigerian Tribune, I've got the Nation in front of me here. Above the masthead, CBN to clear $10 billion forex backlog in 2 weeks. We hope that should be done, and somehow banks will definitely gain from this move, because this forex backlog, it has put a lot of people, travelers, business people, people who do certain volumes of trade with forex, students in foreign countries, these remittances will be available. So the CBN has given that assurance for the clearance of our foreign exchange to the tune of $10 billion. And Tinubu, who's the acting CBN governor, says Apex Bank, that's the CBN, is not owing JP Morgan $7 billion. There have been reports about that, but he's saying it. All right, check out that story from the Nation, and it's on page 2. And in Lagos, Otedola extols Sanwo-Olu on light blue rail takeoff. The train service system extending from Mile 2 access to Marina in Lagos was flagged off yesterday, and residents have been implored to take full use of that train system, of course, to clear loads of traffic from the road. And also a lot of people have been warned not to jump across rail tracks, because most of those tracks are electrified, and for their safety. So kudos for that long project finally taking off. And the big story, I will break all barriers for investors, Tinubu assures. And this is on his visit to India with some notable Nigerian businessmen to try to get good business that will bring great revenue from the country. And this is part of what he has done in his 100 days of leadership. So that we'll see how that deal or those deals will turn out for the country. And he met with a former billionaire Indian businessman who said he is okay in an automobile manufacturing deal to be set up in Nigeria. So that's a good one. Then on pages 6 and 7, we get stories about the warning strike, and in some areas it being a partial success. A report said in some states like Nasarawa State, where people failed to comply with the NLC's warning strike, that's workers under NLC, they were actually chased and flogged out of their offices. Well, in Lagos, it was partial in some ways. Banks did not open, are still not open, and we hope that the government will take a cue and do the needful. All right, moving on from the Nation, it's this day. Otedola commends Sanwo-Olu on successful completion of Lagos Blue Rail, and he has called on Lagosians to continue to support the governor in his quest to deliver more world-class infrastructure for the benefit of the masses. And Otedola, who is the chairman of Geregu Power PLC and also a director with First Bank Holdings PLC, made this commendation to the governor and members of his administration, and of course people in the state during the inauguration of that big project that has come to Lagos State. And on page 5, it says Tinubu 100, not 100 years, 100 days in office. It says strong starts, stronger challenges. Yes, he made some hardline stances, especially on his swearing-in day, where he abruptly called for the removal of the petroleum subsidy, and challenges have been mounting in his face. Yes, challenges definitely will always be on the rise. That is part of leadership, and the solution is knowing how to deal with these challenges effectively. This is a man who has said he waited his whole life to become president, so definitely he must have one or two ideas that will make his leadership more responsible and more accountable to the people. All right, those stories are from this day newspaper. And I've got my last paper. This is the Vanguard newspaper. Above the masthead, Jonathan, former president, says our founding fathers won independence, failed to build a nation. How does he mean, and where did they miss it? You can get those just on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. From page 9, NNPP crisis deepens as faction expels kwankwaso. There has been a rising tension in the NNPP, and the party, its members have been so factionalized that it has deteriorated in the presidential candidate during the February 25th elections of this year being expelled from the party. You can find out why and how on page 9 of the Vanguard. From page 8, APC's past rejection of fuel subsidy removal was political. That's coming from FireMate. I think I mentioned that earlier. On page 15, of course, what everybody has been waiting for with bated breath, so much trepidation and fear. But for me, why should there be any fear? Whatever judgment or verdict is given by the tribunal is what we should take peacefully, however it comes. So page 15 is trying to introduce the 4 women and 4 men, and erudite woman who decide the fate of the presidential elections petitions tribunal today. So you can get a lead on that story on page 15. And the big story from the Vanguard says strike halts activities in Rivers, Osun, Edun, Kano, Kaduna, and Cross River states. And of course, there was a record of partial success and compliance in Lagos, Abuja, Ogun, Delta, Ekiti, and Kebbi states. Power disruption looms as workers shut down Oshogbo Transmission Company, that's in Osun State. Banks, courts short as Anambra NLC joins strike. Strike stalls election tribunal ruling in Edo State. Commercial activities and others Edo State, that courthouses are closed because the judiciary workers are striking. And from the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, he says they met our objectives. And he said the second day, that is today, is being done for good measure to send stronger signals to the federal government. All right, we see pictures of the president splashed out everywhere, celebrating his 100 days in office. And from pages 12 to 13, we see despite slight improvement, reign of terror continues. This is still part of the legacy of Nigerian politics. And on page 8, on the PEPT, that's Presidential Elections Petitions Tribunal, Justice Odili's pre-judgment remarks worrisome. That's coming from the Labour Party, where Justice Mary Odili, who also is the wife of a former governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Sir Peter Odili, made some disparaging remarks, making it seem as if she had already gotten wind or was aware of some kind of judgments which she practically proclaimed as a fact in her utterances the other day. She has been brought under a lot of fire. She has come under a lot of criticism after those statements. All right, so Labour Party says it's a pre-indictment, or it's already like a prejudgment prediction. So you can get that on page 8. On page 22, the Vice President Kashim Shettima says, fuel subsidy interests fighting us. I don't really know what he means by that, but if you want to know better, it's on page 22. And on page 7, still on the Mile 2 axis clash, where task force members and truck drivers, and in this case touts, clashed at Mile 2 area yesterday. That is on page 7. And more bits of other stories On page 16, restructuring Nigeria should be the outcome of the realization that all Nigerians are victims of a structure that has badly fallen short of all our expectations, that our own federal structure will be fair and productive. That's coming from Baba Ahmed on page 16. And on page 22, Afe Babalola says that restructuring Nigeria's socio-political foundations now and with utmost priority is a time-sensitive step that is required to save the nation from looming perdition. Coming from two renowned people on pages 16 and 22. There's a bit of sports on page 38. We'll check out the sports stories there this morning. African qualifier, CAF names Algerian referee for Eagles and Sao Tome tie. That's the tie between Nigeria and Sao Tome and Principe for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier on Sunday. And Babayaro knocks NFF technical committee over Eagles list for Sao Tome tie. That's Emmanuel Babayaro, who was part of the team for the Olympics '96 soccer team. He says that there is the foreign-based professionals for the game. He says it's questionable, and for the lowly ranking side, he just thinks it's a sham and it's some kind of promotion tactic by the Nigerian league to make some damage control. All right, we see Iwobi gets Fulham jersey number 22. That's Alex Iwobi, who moved on from Premier Club Everton last week. And Iwobi, it's quite spectacular. That is one Nigerian who is playing in two major English sides in his lifetime. Good one. All right. And NPFL to introduce VAR in new season. That is the Nigerian Professional Football League. They say there will be an introduction and implementation of VARs that should monitor and improve referees' performances during games. And Spanish Federation sacks World Cup winning coach Vilda. George Vilda has been sacked by the Spanish Football Federation, and this comes in the light of the World Cup kiss everybody's still talking about, that Jenny Hermosa, one of the team players, says she never solicited from the kiss of Rubiales, who happens to be the what's it called, the Federation president. All right, so he has been replaced by his assistant coach, who is a woman and the first woman to actually take up that position in Spain. They said the Spanish Football Federation says it's not just the kiss that got Vilda out of his job. They need to make some structural changes, and they congratulated Vilda that he has done so much for this female Spanish soccer team. All right, IBB Golf goes global with 100 foreign players and 400 locals. That's the golf tourney of the prestigious IBB Golf Club. And this is set to put Nigeria and Africa on the global map by inviting a whopping 500 eager golfers to be part of its first Independence Trophy. And this will take place, of course, on the 1st of October this year. All right, we see other bits of sports news. Qatar World Cup was rigged to help Messi win. That accusation, I would say that allegation and outright accusation, is coming from former Netherlands head coach Louis van Gaal. You can read more on that story. Manchester City starts against Club Lyon or Urawa Reds. That will be the Club World Cup. AC Milan lists Chukwueze in Champions League squad. We also see US Open fan ejected after Nazi anthem furor, and for this cost quite an opera at the US Opens yesterday, where a fan was thrown out from the arena after Germany's Alexander Zverev protested about the words of a Nazi-era anthem being shouted from the stands. We all know that Nazism is not tolerated, is as bad as racism, it's as bad as xenophobia. It's an ideology that is out to destroy lives and people and should not be tolerated in any form. So he said the words he used in particular were from a Hitler's phrase that there is in this world. All right, so much. But we hope such incidences will not occur again, because it actually demoralizes players and people. All right, so much for sports news, and a great one we had this morning. Thank you for being with us. And of course, if you can't hit the newspaper stands, check out our website for more updated stories now and throughout the day. We give you quality content and great news that will make you be in the know. And don't forget to, on our YouTube page where you're watching us from, on our channel, don't forget to share, to like and subscribe in case you haven't, so that we can get more of those wonderful views from you and your friends. It's been a pleasant morning here in the city of Lagos, and we hope wherever you're watching from, anywhere in the world, this has made your day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.